Welcome to this season of the Broadway Podcast, where here we give you a more real-time point of view of people who work, interact, and entertain here in Broadway, Nashville. We get the opportunity to provide hot gossip, but we also take the opportunity to provide a more positive outlook on people who call Nashville their home. Ride with us as we take you down a trip on Broadway.
This is the life we choose, life we choose. And honestly, I wouldn't want it any other way. I've been doing just fine, alright now. This is the life we choose. This is the life we choose.
So, Zach, welcome to the show, man. It's good to have you on.
Dude, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm happy to have you. I'm really excited to know what's going on right now in your life as far as your music career is concerned. I've been stalking you lately on Instagram and TikTok, and I've been seeing a lot of good things you've been producing. Do you want to elaborate today about like what you got going on, like what brought you the music and what brought you to Nashville with your music?
So I actually, I was working in sports medicine in New Jersey. I was an athletic trainer. So I worked with a couple of different professional sports and stuff like that. The first time I ever came to Nashville was actually I was working for the Carolina Panthers. I was an intern with them.
Oh, sweet.
And that was when I kind of like started to see that like music was even an option. But it was so far in the back of my mind, I didn't ever think that I would have moved here, honestly. I was actually working for a minor league baseball team in New Jersey 2.5 years ago. It was the summer, and about halfway through, an ex-girlfriend of mine that told me that she never would have moved to Nashville with me, told me she was moving to Nashville without me. So I was just like, at that point, I was like, number one, why are you telling me this? But number two, I was like, how am I going to let an ex-girlfriend live out my dream? Like, she didn't even really want to go to Nashville.
Yeah.
So at that point, I like kind of looked, and I looked at what I was doing. And what I did was I went to work every day. And on the way home, I stopped at the same karaoke bar and I hung out singing with the same crowd of people and honestly just getting drunk a couple nights a week and just being okay with that. And then I was like, what if I took my exact life that I had in New Jersey? And it sucks because I had to give up a lot of friendships and pretty much all my closest relationships to do this. But what if I just copy and pasted my life in New Jersey, and instead of having it be a small local dive bar in New Jersey, my local dive bar was downtown Nashville. So when I first came here, I started working at a sports medicine company up in like the Centennial area.
Yeah.
And I was there for a couple of months trying to pursue music. And I went to work Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to like 5. And then right after I left work, I went downtown Broadway and I just walked the streets. I was always like trying to network and meet people.
Hell yeah. So music was always like your first passion.
That was the entire reason I came to Nashville. That was why I justified when I went into the service industry. It was because I could be closer to the music and I could find a way to justify being near exceptional musicians without, number one, drinking. Because when I was working, I was like, there's no way I'm drinking while I'm working.
Yeah.
And number two, it wasn't costing me money. So I looked at how I could spend the most time around musicians without costing and without spending a lot of money. And that was just to find a job working in bars.
So you think that Nashville justified you not drinking and playing and working? Because it's really hard to like be here and not kind of partake in the lifestyle of Broadway. So like, tell me about that. Like how hard was that for you to be able to avoid like the plague that is Nashville drinking scene?
I did not. I was fine with not drinking at work because when I was working as a porter and when I was working as a bar back, it was just so physically demanding that I physically would not have been able to even have a sip of alcohol, even just to like relax at that point. I was like, this is way too much. Like, felt like being a professional athlete sometimes. So, but what I would do is at the end of the night, I would bust out so that I could clean all my stuff and get to the other side of town, anywhere in Midtown, and just usually drink until wherever that was closed. Yeah. So I did have my my fallbacks with that for sure. For sure. it was very difficult. There was a point where I was in the bars so much that like I was fine with everybody knowing me because I went out of my way to make sure I was recognized. I always wore plain white t-shirts. I always wore my sunglasses. There was a point for the first probably year and a half that I was in Nashville. If I was on Broadway or if I was in Midtown, you would not see me without my sunglasses on unless I was working. Like
That sounds like
yeah.
if I saw you walking down the streets on Broadway with your sunglasses on, I'm like, look at this douchebag. But
Yeah.
like, I
Yes.
guess it's like almost
But
like
you
an artist.
always
like,
saw me.
Exactly.
You always saw that
Exactly.
it was me. And I was like, that was definitely one of the
That's
costs.
the vibe.
That was one of the costs, was that people were always ready to fight because I was wearing sunglasses
no.
at night. But I was just like, is this really going to be something that ruins your whole day?
Yeah.
And like the other thing is too, across the street you recognize me, and that was the whole goal of
Exactly.
it. So it was so that way when I walked into like a bar and I was trying to get a bartender to be like, hey, will you vouch for me? Like, I'm really trying to perform here. The bartender, even if I didn't talk to her each time I went up, or even if I didn't talk to a manager each time, they always saw a dude with a plain white t-shirt and sunglasses in. And when you see that often enough, like, yeah, guys, we all kind of dress the same, but it's
Yeah.
very rare that you'll see a dude in a clean white t-shirt on Broadway.
and
You know what I mean?
sunglasses on.
Exactly. So it was something that was like subtle and easy enough to replicate, but I
Yeah.
also did it that I could like stand out. So it was also at the point that like if I spilled something while I was out, I also could go around the corner to the Dollar General and grab another plain white t-shirt and be
Yeah.
right back out.
I mean, at this point, you should already have like 15 backups.
Oh, I have plenty. I have plenty. Yeah.
So I had a couple guys on the show last season who also perform and do their artistry downtown.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to them about how hard it is, or like the motions there is to like get downtown in the venues and actually play in them. So I'm assuming right now you are playing in some of these venues, right?
I played some of them, but it's not been consistent. So as we're starting to go into slow season, which obviously impacts people in the service industry across the board, that also means that a lot of the stages are closing earlier. So I only perform as a solo acoustic act right now. I'm slowly, very, very slowly starting to develop the concept of what I want to build in an original band.
Yeah.
But because of that, I also want to take the time to build my reputation as a solo acoustic performer. So that way people can kind of see how I'm performing and see if that's something they even want to be interested in.
Right. So
But
I
like-
guess that's the Midtown reason why Midtown was more your option than downtown.
Midtown is a bigger draw to me. I've been trying to play at this one bar. Like I really want to get into this one bar, and I work there now as security, a food runner, and a bar back. But my ultimate goal, if I wind up being a full-time performer there, that would be more than enough of the win for me. But my long-term vision also includes me being an original artist and people singing along to songs that I've written, stories that I tell.
So you have music right now that's out that you've written already.
Yes.
Do you like? I seen your post on I think Instagram where that's what it first came out attention. I was like, he does music because like I know we crossed paths before through work, and I'm like, I would have never thought in a million years you did music. And so my nosy ass, I'm like, I'm gonna go on there and see if he's actually like decent. And because everybody in Nashville is here for music.
Everybody
or
does
some,
music,
They're
yeah.
here for doing some kind of music, whatever. And some are great and some are not great. And I went on there and I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, all right, he's good. Like I told my guest last week, I was like, consistency is always the thing. And I kept seeing you post and post and post. And so I reached out. I was like, hey man, I think you reached out. Oh, we saw each other in public.
Yeah, we
And-
saw, and I was like, dude, your podcast is like, it's such a cool thing. And then you asked if I wanted to be on. I was like, yeah, I wouldn't even think that you'd have me on. Like,
Well, of course I would. I mean,
Yeah.
you're like the foundation of what Broadway artists I feel like were before it became so commercialized. I think that the nostalgia of like people like you that make the music and kind of grind and move here from the grind and like work at venues and also perform at venues have almost lost its charm a little bit. Cause like the artists that I see at my job, they've never worked at my job. But I only see like a handful of people who actually like are hustling down here and actually like working behind the bars or working like in some kind of avenue in the bar and also trying to pursue their music careers, which is almost like refreshing to me to see, because even though we do have a lot of great artists that play on our stages, it's like, well, I mean, you say that you guys work hard for, I'm not using words wisely. They work hard to produce their music, and
Sure.
and some people have more time or have more opportunities or better opportunities than the next person. So it's always good to see people like you actually like in real time seeing the progression.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think it's
appreciate
important
that,
to
man.
have
Thank
people
you.
on my show to be able to show that side of them and share that story, because yeah, people that come out of town and come to our venues and look at the artists that play on our stages, you would never see them working behind a bar. Like they're the artists, you know, they're featured. And so now I'm like, well, this is my buddy who actually used to work for me 4 years ago, who also now is performing on the stages of Broadway. I have a friend that was on tour. Well, I say friend loosely, but I was her manager at another restaurant I worked at years ago. And she just happened to be opening for Morgan Wallen this past tour that he was on.
Oh, wow.
And she's doing phenomenal things. And I don't want to say her name because, you know, out of respect for her and legalities. But I worked with her hand in hand at a restaurant in Bellevue years ago. And now she's on tour with the biggest country artist right now we have. Yeah. So, I mean, I love the fact that, like, we get to touch and feel you guys. And then when you become famous, which I want to speak to existence, it's almost like, it means more to us than it does, you know, just seeing the day-to-day person. Give me a little bit more about like what you got going on now, like as far as your performance and stuff like that. Like, how are you going about that?
Well, so what I want to actually talk about too is I call it a little bit of Nashville magic. Mm-hmm. So when I perform, I always give people what I call a Nashville story, right? So when I first started working at Rippy's, which was, can I say that? Is that cool?
Do you work there now?
No.
Then yeah.
Okay, cool. So when I first started working at Rippy's, I was a bar back there. And I literally went into it because I was like, let me get into the first bar that I can. Let me be a bar back because that seems to be what most of the guys do if they're not servers. I was like, I don't really want to be a server. Like I tried it. I'm not a day shift guy. I'm not a big talking to customers like all the time. So that was how I learned how to bar back. And on my very first shift, it actually wound up being a friend of mine was performing on Rippy's roof. And he knew that I was a singer, and it was my first shift working as a bar back downtown. And he stopped the show and he did like the actual Nashville movie moment where he was like, hey, my friend over there is a bar back and he's also a really good singer. Like, do you guys mind if he comes up and he does a song? Mm-hmm. And my first shift working as a bar back downtown, I also got up on stage and sang Tennessee Whiskey. So I gave all those people in there that moment where it was like, oh, literally everybody here can sing, where it's like, even the bar back, like we just watched him carry all this beer up and now he gets up on stage and then he goes right back to doing it.
Right.
I love to do stuff like that. So when I perform, like when I get different shows and stuff out, I always throw something ridiculous in there. Like I'll make a customer pick a number and like that's where I'll put my capo on and then I'll figure out a song to do it from there. Or I saw this, there was like an older customer one time that she was like kind of bobbing her head and moving along with the song. It wasn't my turn to sing. So I looked at the other guys. I was like, hey, are you cool with this? They're like, yeah, go ahead. And I jumped off stage and I just like grabbed this woman and I started country swing dancing with her in the middle of Rippy's. I love doing stuff like that. Yeah. So I've been working on building that and actually designing that into a show where I'm trying to build sets where I can have, and this is where it's going to be like, more important for me to be building a band, but where I can have different things like that planned out. Like, here's my opportunity. Like the next time I sing a specific song, when it goes to the instrumental solo, I can get off stage. I have somebody that also is a singer that's in my band. They finish the song and now I'm dancing with somebody from the group. Because also as an original artist, songs that I build, like songs that I write, I have ideas like that in my songs too.
Yeah.
So when I'm playing on a stage, like you're talking about Morgan Wallen, yeah, I do want to talk that into existence. Like, yeah, that's what my goal is. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to be at my own concert like Morgan Wallen and jump off stage with one of my fans and dance with her right there. That's
awesome.
Like, that's where I see this going.
And then, I feel like, sorry for interrupting, but I feel like interacting with the people that come here from all over the place is like, they don't get that often, especially. And then when you think about Nashville, you would think that was a thing, right? Like you would think that like a lot more artists that perform would like be more interacting like physically with, I guess some people are kind of like stay away from it because they don't want to like do anything inappropriate and everything's on social media at this point. But
every single person that comes to Nashville, Tennessee, like I always keep this in the back of my mind, but every single person that comes to Nashville, especially tourists, they may only come here one time their entire lives. Mm-hmm. They might never come back to Tennessee. They might never come back to the country. Like, because we get a lot of people from Europe, from Canada that will fly in, check out. And like, I'm security. I check IDs. I see them from all over the world. Mm-hmm. People might come to Nashville one time. They are hoping every single time that they go out to the bar that they're going to stop eating and they're going to turn their heads and that's the next Morgan Wallen. And like, the closer that we can get to that when we're performing, when we're like, the acoustic acts and we're able to do that, we're able to give them that feeling just for the 10-15 minutes that they're in that bar. That's That's literally what I do it for right
Yeah,
now.
looking for a once in a lifetime moment.
Exactly.
Because like you said, people do come from all over the place, and it is our jobs as not only artists but like bartenders, servers, etc. Anything in entertainment or hospitality, it's our job to make them feel and just have this best experience they can. Because like you said, they might not be here again, or like they might not be the same age when they come back. Like they may be from like 21. Next time they come back, they're like in their late 30s with their kids or whatever. So it's like, you want to give people the best authentic version of Nashville they can possibly get, because they may not get that again. So like I said, I think it's very important for artists like you and bartenders like me to show that side of Nashville to our guests, because like without them, we're nothing, to be honest.
Yes,
Getting back to like the band thing, a lot of people do have bands in this town. Do you think that that's like a setback for you as far as, not having a band right now with you versus like the other artists who have these humongous bands behind them?
I think yes and no. I think it is a setback because I could be working. I could have probably already made the transition to being a musician full time if I had done that. If I had a band built. Since I don't though, I also have to take my time, and I am being very specific. Like a lot of people, and there's nothing wrong with this because this is just the Broadway lifestyle. Like when there's a gig, like if there's a drummer available and you need a drummer, you might have never met him before, but he's playing for you for the first time, and he's going to play for 4 hours for you.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. Like I have the utmost respect for musicians that can do that. The band that I want to create being like an original band first is like, if my drummer is sick that day, like we will help you find another band.
Yeah.
I want it to be just me and 3 other people. Queen is one of my biggest influences. Which is weird to say when I'm in a country only kind of area.
And also, I don't think it's a country only area. Not mean to cut that whole segment off
No,
for you,
no,
but
no,
like,
but
we'll
like-
get back to that. But like Nashville, because we're not gonna give Nashville that. We're not do that to them. I mean, I'm gonna take up for Nashville when it comes to them not being a well-rounded music.
I'll give
city.
you that.
Like, yes, is it concentrated around a certain genre? Yes,
It's a lot of other stuff.
but they do
now,
give the
too,
opportunity for other music.
Yeah.
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
But it is like Nashville
what
is
you're
for
saying.
country music. Like, yeah.
I would
But
agree to
also,
disagree.
although like now that I'm also thinking about it, I think about some of like the bigger artists that I'm friends with from the area, like the barback from Luke's that's like taking off. I'm like, he's not country at all. He's
At all, right?
Like,
He's
and I'm
killing
like,
the game too,
yeah,
man.
dude. I actually, one of my buddies is like managing his tour right now.
Fuck it.
too,
Shout
so-
out to Elijah.
Yeah,
He's doing
Elijah's
his thing.
killing it, man.
Yeah, we
Like,
love
big
that.
fan of that
I will
guy,
tag
dude.
him in this video
Yeah.
too. Shout out to
Yeah,
him, man.
big fan of that guy,
Yeah.
man.
I
Been
worked with him
watching
at Three
his-
Crow in East Nashville for
Dude,
like a couple of years.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Dude, he was like one of the first like Nashville people that I met, and he was also another person doing exactly like he worked in the service industry. He didn't have an interest in playing downtown, and he talked to me about focusing on social media. Like, shouts out, he was 100% right, and he's killing it.
He
like
is killing
he
the
is doing
game.
such an amazing job too, and I rock out to his stuff, dude. I'm not even ashamed to admit.
I'm not even a fan of
Dude.
pop punk.
No.
But the thing is that when you're, like I said, like get back to
Yeah.
like when you're just really good at something and you believe in it, and people, even like, I'm not a big fan of like that genre of music. I'm a fan of him, and he
Yeah.
makes me a fan of his music.
Yeah.
Just like,
Then you listen to his song and you're like, dude, that's his
You're
story.
right,
Like
it's
that's
definitely-
almost like I like the song, and also it's his story, so I know it even better now. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
so like with your music, you're doing the same thing. Like, I feel like you're pouring yourself into your music. Like, give me like an example. Like, are you doing country? What are you doing? Like, what is your genre specifically with your music?
I tell people it's like the alternative. It's like country adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
So because I thought everything, that's kind of where I was like going to come back to, because like I'm from New Jersey, and like I was not doing just country music in New Jersey. I was doing like Billy Joel and like Elton John and like stuff from all over the place. Like if it was a random song, like I play Kanye West now on acoustic guitar, like because that was the type of stuff that I was used to playing on piano all the time. So what's it called? What I try and do. I'm sorry. Can you say your question again?
No, basically like pouring yourself into your music, because I feel like you said
yeah.
New Jersey too, because I feel like we talk about Nashville like being country oriented.
Yeah.
I think it's not about them being country oriented. I think it's more so about them not being musically savvy. Like, not saying that people who live here and perform, the people who visit. So
Oh,
like you're
yes.
talking about like
Yeah.
New York, New Jersey,
Yes.
even out in Cali, up north. Like, I feel like people in those cities are just more musically savvy.
It's musicians
because
around other
people
musicians.
exactly because
Yeah.
people are all over the world fluctuate to those big cities and do all kinds of music. Like my friend Stanley, he's in New York right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he's doing his like romanticism
His
music
pop
and his stuff.
So I have songs like Stanley and I have like played rounds together too,
Yeah.
and like we have songs that are similar that go really well together. Like I have stuff. That's why I kind of say it's like a alternative type, but also like a little bit pop. I write love songs. I have a couple of raps that I've written. Like I have songs about what it's like to be a man and like knowing that nobody cares about you, and I have songs that it's like I'm begging for help. Like, why is nobody paying attention to this? But then you look around and you're like, everybody else is also begging for help and nobody cares about them either.
That
like
sounds dark.
It is, but I needed to write it. Like a lot of songs I'll take the time and I'll sit down. I'll be like, all right, here's a line, and I can like reverse engineer how I want to build a song. Like if here's a line that I wrote and it's like, all right, that makes sense in the chorus. Okay, so if that goes in the chorus, then that's what the chorus is about. Now here's what the song is about.
Yeah.
Now I can build a song. I listened to 3 NF songs on repeat on a Tuesday because my buddy told me that he thought that they would be good for my writing. And the next day I woke up. The song I wrote, it's called Saved, and the hook is who else needs to be saved because there's nobody listening. And it's like kind of a Jelly Roll inspired hip hop type of country song that I put together, but it was about exactly what I was just talking about.
Yeah.
Like,
And speaking of people like Jelly Roll and
one of my
Post
biggest
Malone,
influences. Yeah.
and even like Keisha Cole, if anybody knows who that is. She came from R&B background. Of course, Posty was doing his pop culture stuff. Jelly Roll, kind of same thing. Like people like that bringing so many different avenues into country music. I love it because it's like almost like what we need right now.
Yeah.
Because country music is great music. I went to school in Alabama, so I kind of grew up in my later life listening to a lot of country music because of the area I was in. Never in a million years thought in a million years I would be such a huge fan of country music.
Sure.
But when you think about it, all good music speaks to all good people. So, or anybody in particular, it's always about some kind of trauma or love or hate or whatever. It always resonates to some audience, whether it's country, rap, pop, whatever. Good music is good music, in my opinion. And people like Post Malone and like Jelly Roll, who bring this different flair to country music, I think it's very needed. It's a very woke version. I hate to say that word, but it's a very woke version of country because sometimes even like in the rap industry, like things kind of get diluted from a lot of bullshit. So I think the transitions in the into other like country or like R&B, whatever, is like needed. How do you feel about that? Because as an artist, because I feel like your music's kind of is all over the place when it comes to like genre style, which is not a bad thing. But like, how do you feel with the music movement right now? How everybody's kind of like dipping into the other pots. Like, do you think that's a good thing for music or a bad thing for music?
I think it's huge for music. I think it's a really positive thing. One of the things that I actually built into one of my shows that I did at AJ's Good Time Bar was that I found a way to play. I only play 5 country chords on guitar. And if I justify it that way, any song that I play on guitar is therefore a country song. With that, I've been able to figure out ways to play different Beatles songs, like Morgan Wallen songs, obviously, and then Kanye West, and like even stuff like Blackstreet on acoustic guitar via the country chords. So what I figured out a long time ago is that country has roots in so many different genres of music. Like it is at the core, it's just about a couple of chords telling a story. And for a while, music just became about what is this 3 to 5 seconds that I can get to pay attention.
Yeah.
So that way you listen to my song, you stream it, and now I have a bunch of streams on it. With people blending these genres again, the way that they're like, it's almost intentional, but it's not.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that Post Malone wanted to make just a country album. It's that he wanted to write songs with those people and figure out what the blend was. That's like pure, like that's real. It's songwriting again.
Yeah.
It's not 100 people that are just like, all right, what sells the most? It's like, no, what are the stories that we're trying to tell again? And when you can't just put it as it's just country music, it's just R&B, it's just hip hop. When it is all those things, like that's what music is. That's
and
what
music also
be.
provides a safe space for people to be able to have an opinion about life without being judged. I guess that's how I interpret music. So like when people try to like bubble or like specialize, like with people saying like, oh, this person only can do country, this person only can do hip hop, is almost unfair to the listener because then you're putting a biased opinion on it. A lot of things that, this is my opinion, but a lot of things that I kind of see happen in Nashville when we have those transition to music, people are either going to be a fan of it or they're going to hate it. It's never going to be in between, and nobody really gives it the opportunity to be able to resonate to their listening ears and not their hearts. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, for my personal opinion, is like Beyonce's country album. I don't necessarily think that people are really open to her in Nashville in particular, because the fact that like you were not her fan before she became
Sure.
whatever it was she's becoming
Sure.
now. So of course you're not going to accept her in the country music area. For instance, like Post Malone was loved before he came into the country scene by the country listeners.
Yes.
So it's like, of course you're going to like be biased towards a certain person and not the other. And it's not has anything to do with race at all. It's about what you liked before this person became a country artist or like a country enthusiast or whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
What's your thoughts about that? Because I kind of have a lot of different viewpoints on that.
I have, so this is going to make it sound like it was all fake, and I don't think any of it was. But part of it also was, right? When you think about how these people put their albums out, like Beyonce doesn't have to make the decision on what day the album is coming out. They have a strategy. They have a plan in place on when she's putting it out, where she's going to be, why she's going to be there. Like that's all planned out, right? The difference between Beyonce and Post Malone's transition to country music is that Post Malone, it seemed like he was genuinely just trying it out. Whereas Beyonce was just like,
oh, good idea.
I'm just going to, country music. We're doing country music now. Like, okay. Like, and she did turn around and just do country music, which there's nothing wrong with that. But it was almost like Post Malone was trying to figure it out, even though neither of them really were. They both had like an actual plan on it. I feel like the biggest difference for Post Malone was that also he started working with the artists that he worked with. They already fit with what he did in a different genre.
Gotcha.
Like,
well, I don't want to
wasn't
get
so
too
much of
far
a
into
jump, you know what
their
I mean?
careers because
Yeah.
I don't know much about their careers, their personal
I
lives.
know.
I was more so just like, for me, it was like, I just want to kind of get a little bit of
people
insight.
would have been. I think people would have been more receptive to Beyonce if it was more of a gradual transition to country music, as opposed to I can do country music now. Also, I think that was the difference for her.
I hear that. So about your music, what are we doing now? I know you said you're playing in some venues. How's that been for you? Has it been kind of like stressful? Because it is a competitive nature out here as far as the music scene is concerned, especially getting a spot or a gig in these venues, because a lot of the artists already have like a legitimate spot throughout the week. How's that been for you?
So I figured out I basically find a way to make every day productive in music. What I do is I wake up, and it sounds late, but I promise it's not, because I usually work at the bars overnight. But I wake up at 8 a.m. every day, and I text a booking agent at 9 a.m. to see if there's any cancellations between then and 10:45, because that's how long it would take me to get from my house to Parked and back at one of the venues on Broadway. I do that every morning. I've gotten 4 gigs that way over the last 2 weeks, and then this past week I haven't gotten any, and then this week with some of the rooms getting closed, it is starting to dry up some of the acoustic spots that are available. So yes, that is stressful. However, with what I do on my other jobs, the way that I've kind of built my schedule out, I've found a way to make myself secure enough financially to keep myself open for any of those opportunities in the morning. If I wind up not having a gig for the 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. slot that day, what I'll do is usually I work out, and I do pretty much the same fitness routine every day. It takes me 20 minutes, and I'll shoot my last set always, and that's how I generate my fitness content that I've been putting out. The second thing that I'll do is I'll do a cover project where I'll use Logic Pro, and I'll record a cover of a song that I've been enjoying recently. And I use that as kind of an experiment to record my own music. So that way I can kind of figure out how to record my voice, figure out how to record the guitar sounds that I like. The third thing that I'll do is I'll record original music, which is predominantly me spending time with the piano and a beat maker. And the fourth thing that I'm thinking about doing, and I'm not sure if I'm going to start to do this or not, is like some of the lip sync comedy videos to kind of highlight what it's like to be dating and a musician in Nashville.
What do you mean lip sync? What do you mean by that?
Like using different clips. So I'm always quoting like TV shows and movies and stuff. So, and I do that in real life. So I'm thinking about just taking a bunch of different clips and like lip syncing them like they're in real life positions basically, and making like a comedy content stream as well.
So making fun light out of the situation.
Pretty much.
Well,
yeah.
you have content out right now that you have put out on social media. What's the feedback like for you?
Not high, honestly. I have people tell me more in real life than they do in the comments and stuff. So what I've been doing is, again, with just trying to figure out the algorithms and trying to build any type of consistency with that. It's more so just about trying to find the right thing that hits and finding the thing that's been helping the most people. And also, selfishly, what helps me the most. The fitness videos are usually videos that I would have watched myself, and then I take my own, like me working out, and I put the same videos of stuff that inspired me that day. I've gotten from a lot of my friends the feedback that like, dude, I've like started getting more progressively like working out a little bit better and more consistent in it just because I see your stuff. Like, do you really, they're asking me, they're like, do you really do that every day? I'm like, yeah, just about, as long as I have 20 free minutes and enough time to go to a park. Yeah. So I've been having friends that have actually told me that the stuff that I've been putting out in fitness and in dancing has been the most coming up in their algorithms, which is crazy because people that know me from both of those things are also now just finding out that I am a musician as well.
That's funny that you're talking about the algorithm, because I actually was talking to some of my friends last week about how the podcast could just kind of take off even faster than it has already. And I have seen some of your content. And I was talking to a friend about my content, like, you know, things about how what I should do, what I shouldn't do, as far as like staying focused on like my brand or whatever. Personally, do you think that like merging so many things into one just because of algorithm purposes is like beneficial or hurtful? Because say, for instance, like the workout stuff and the music stuff starts to blend and it becomes a product of it's not a product of its own anymore. It's like two separate identities merged into one. So like when you're putting in your music stuff on Instagram and then you're also putting your workout stuff, the viewer can get confused. And I will say, me personally, because you know me, I like to vet a lot of people I bring on the show. And I have noticed that I don't know which avenue to go in, because especially me, I'm a pervert. So of course I'm going to go look at all the shirtless pictures.
Yeah, dude, I got a lot
and
of them,
I'm like,
dude.
oh, okay, well, the shirtless pictures are there, but oh yeah, the music's also there too. So like even girls would be like that.
Yeah,
you know, like,
100%.
So like I get the algorithm because I'll be the one putting the hashtag no shirt, and then forgetting about the whole reason why I went to go look at your page. So do you think that's something that like any creator needs to be mindful of, as far as like what they put out and what the repercussions of putting the stuff out they do and how they do it?
I think it's something to be mindful of, but I think it's still important to do. Now, one of my long-term plans is to eventually start to blend the fitness and the music with my original stuff, going towards some of the original songs that I've written and then putting my own fitness videos over my songs.
That'd be dope.
So that is like a long-term plan, especially as I start to put out and produce more original content and more original songs. What I found is one of the things that I did was I always wore sunglasses. And that was to create a genuine and real disconnect from me and my audience. And I'm wearing regular glasses now. That is also intentional. Because honestly, like it was something that I didn't realize that I was like literally hiding and keeping myself from the people that I was trying the hardest to connect to.
Yeah.
When I realized that, some of the advice that I was given was that, yes, people want to hear your songs, and yeah, everybody's a good singer. Like, that's true. And we talked about it a couple of times. Like, Elijah's a good singer, but like, that's not why we follow him. We follow him because we know him, we like him, you know? And like, yes, and he's a good singer. There are people that haven't seen me in my, like, without my sunglasses, that are in Nashville, that have known me for 2 years, that have not seen me without my sunglasses. There are people that only know me as a singer, only know me as a dancer, only know me as a bartender, as a bar back, as security. And I was not willing to let people see all of those different things. I was genuinely not, like, that was intentional. You knew me for a while. Like, we worked together for like at least 7 months. It was intentional that you knew me from work and that you didn't know that I was a musician. I was very specific about keeping my life separate. Once I figured out people care more about you as a person, which is still something that I struggle with as an artist too. I decided that, like, for me as an artist, I just needed to show all the different things that I was doing. Like, this is something, fitness is something that's important to me as a person, as an artist. And like, it also, the reason that I started doing fitness was because, and the reason that I do fitness the way that I do is because I carry a piano on my right shoulder as I walk down Broadway every time. And because of that, like, I have a workout that is designed to make it so that I am strong enough to do that each time I need to. with
You're not
that in
just
mind,
doing it because you want to just be
No.
looking like a stud on the
no,
streets.
not at all.
Oh,
like
okay.
it's a survival thing. That definitely helps. No, but like that was like I do 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats every day, and like I do that with the thought in mind that I am going to have to walk a couple of miles with something heavy on my shoulder. I need to be strong enough to do it.
I feel that.
So as long term, as I start to blend and show how all those things are related, yes, it is like kind of complicated, but like if you buy into the fitness thing right now, that is a super important part of why I do everything else. And if you buy into the music thing and you like the cover songs that I picked because you connect to that cover song and the way that I sang it, that's a part of it too. And like they all make up who I am as an artist.
There are interchangeable parts that
Exactly.
make who you are as that.
Exactly.
And I respect that. I respect that wholeheartedly. It's just unfortunate sometimes that like even with this podcast that we have to be so in tune with being like on top of everything. Like so like for instance, people don't want to like always be patient to see like the outcome of a product and go down that road with you. And sometimes we're forced to like kind of detour from ourselves a little bit. I'm kind of happy that you're not detouring. Just don't forget the world we live in.
Definitely.
So you gotta always be
I
relevant
definitely
to a
did.
certain extent.
Yeah.
Even with this podcast, I have to stay relevant to a certain extent because it will lose steam with people's
Yeah.
attention.
Bailey Zimmerman was a truck guy first, and then he sang one time. Like
Yeah.
that, everybody knew him and everybody connected with him because he was a truck guy. If people like find me for the fitness stuff and that's the thing that they understand, when I put out more of my original stuff, if they relate to me on the fitness stuff, they're going to relate to the music that I put
I feel
out
that
too.
because I mean, at the same time,
Yeah.
we do live in a society where like the visuals are always important too. Like for me, I can't be walking around here, promoting my podcast, whatever I promote, or promoting your music or whoever else is on the show stuff, and be looking like a bomb. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like you have to have some kind of like, decorum about yourself. But I'm really proud of what you've put out so far. I really want you to continuously share that with us. Because I think that what you're doing is amazing. I think that anybody who comes into the city or any town for that matter and like can pursue their dreams on top of working, on top of struggling, on top of, hearing people say they can't do certain things. Like I really recommend that because the outcome of your passion of what you're doing now would be so much better because you have like a foundation from where you came from. So I really respect that. Like I said to you earlier, I'm going to always be very in tune to what you got going on because I'm kind of interested now. You've reeled me in.
Dude, I appreciate you.
And I can't wait to see what the future holds. Can you tell us a little bit more, like while we finish up the show, like where you be next, where can we find you?
The biggest things you can find me on would be my Instagram and on my TikTok. That's where I put the most content out and where I am most consistently. You can find new songs. If you send me messages to do specific covers, if there's songs that I like, that will be my next project that I do. I try and do covers on a weekly basis now. Outside of that, you'll find me pop up either at Rippy's or Tootsie's for the most part, or Honky Tonk Central. And outside of those, if you wind up at Charlie Daniels Park in Mount Juliet, I usually practice out there. I take my guitar and a PA system out there, and that's where I rehearse.
Hell yeah. Are you posting like dates and times as you get them?
I post it on my Instagram story whenever I get them.
And what's that under? That's under your first and last name?
Yeah, sorry, yeah. Zach Michael _music. You'll see me in basically the same outfit, but with sunglasses on.
Hopefully the outfit's clean, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Just the one though.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, man. I enjoyed your company. I was happy to like actually get to see another side of you because just walking down Broadway and the hustle and bustle, we don't really get to see like the behind the scenes of people's lives. So I really appreciate you, man.
David, this is awesome. Thank you so much for having me
Hell
on.
yeah,
man.
rock
I
on,
appreciate
bro.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the life we choose. Life we choose. And honestly, I wouldn't want it any other way. I've been doing just fine.